How many of you have read this book, In His Steps? Anyone read? You must get hold of this book. This is a very old book. I think maybe about 20 or 30 years ago. But they say it's a true story in a small town in the States where the whole town, all of them are Christians, but they were just very nominal Christians. And something happens there. And after that, one man comes, and I can't remember the exact story, but after that, all the Christians were challenged. They were challenged in the sense that, now, whatever we do, we are going to ask, will Jesus do this? That's why the title, In His Steps. Will Jesus do it? So in that church, they got their own local newspaper. The editor was there, and a few other people, business people, normal people. Everybody started to ask that question. So the editor, in his newspaper, he used to put advertisements for cigarettes and also for alcoholic drinks. So he started to ask that question. So then onwards, you find his newspaper didn't carry that kind of advertisements. So like that, a big transformation happened in that town, because they simply asked this question: what will Jesus do in this situation? How will he answer? How will he react? And they started to follow that. And you see, that's why the good works, and the good works, what will the good works do? The good works will glorify God. Like I said, sometimes in situations we can't speak, but our actions can show he must be a believer of Jesus. She must be a believer of Jesus. And this is very important. In Acts, book of Acts, chapter 18, verses 24 to 26, you will find that the Christians, you know how they grew. They had within themselves people who helped them in their faith. And very important, for good works to come, the people who you are connected in the church, if they themselves are connected with God, sometimes maybe you are new, you'll find that their influence can make you to come closer to God. And that is very important. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 10, 2 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 8. We are created to do good works. Do you know or not? God made you and me as people who serve, people who are created specially to do good works wherever we can. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 10.
For we are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them.
Yes, God created us to do good works. And so very sad when a Christian, and if the Christian says, I'm from a Spirit-filled church, I'm from a Pentecostal church, and he's a liar and done all kind of work. It's very sad, because it brings a very bad name to Jesus, because we are created to do good works. And then the next verse, 2 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 8.
And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that you always having all sufficiency in all things, that may have an abundance for every good work.
Yes. You see, in this verse, God gives us grace for what? In verse 8, I'll read this again. And God is able to make all grace abound towards you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, may have an abundance for every good work. Sometimes people use the grace, and they say they use the grace and they use it like a passport to sin. But grace, if you really see, grace is given to us to overcome our weaknesses, and also something we don't merit for, God just gives us freely. You don't deserve to have, but God will give it to you. And here you see, God will give that kind of grace, and He says there, having all sufficiency in all things, may have an abundance of grace. I'm adding the word grace there. May have an abundance of grace for every good work. To do a good work, we need the grace of God. We need the grace of God to do a good work. Because sometimes our heart, maybe our body will tell, I'm too tired, I cannot do. But we need the grace of God to do it.